The White Rock Pier, the most prominent landmark in White Rock, British Columbia, and the jewel in its crown, has played a significant role in the community's history and development. This iconic structure, which is Canada's longest pier, has witnessed numerous events, changes, and developments since its construction over 100 years ago in 1914. As early as 1890, plans were made to construct a permanent pier in White Rock. When the railway came in 1909, White Rock became an official customs and immigration port of entry, and the need for a pier increased. Originally built in 1912 as a 300-foot floating platform, the local community lobbied the federal government to build a permanent pier to function as an industrial seaport. They invited Federal Minister of Marine, J.D. Hazen, to visit White Rock. Attempting to navigate the flimsy floating plank pier, he decided right then and there that a permanent pier should be constructed, and in November of 1914, an 800-foot pier was completed. Realizing at only 800 feet, the pier did not extend past the low tide line. In 1915, the pier was extended to 1,600 feet. Although the pier was intended to be used as an industrial seaport for shipping and importing goods via the railway, locals soon found more leisurely uses with the addition of a swimming tank constructed off the side of the pier in 1921 by the White Rock Amateur Swimming Association. Young children would learn to swim on the beach and then graduate to the tank for swimming lengths. The Swimming Association used the pier as its headquarters for over 50 years, teaching generations of kids how to swim. Not long after the First World War, returned servicemen of the area were looking for a place to call their own, while the community was trying to decide on a suitable way to honor its heroes. When a local contractor suffered a tragic accident while constructing a building adjacent to the pier, the veterans bought the building materials, and with volunteer labor and public financing, the long-anticipated Legion Hall No. 8 became a reality. The formal opening was held in July 1929. Not long after, the Union Steamship Company began its very popular excursion cruise service from White Rock Pier to Victoria, Bowen Island, and the Sunshine Coast. The cruises continued into the 50s until the breakwater at the end of the pier made it impossible for large vessels to land. On August 27, 1935, disaster struck when the Legion Hall was completely destroyed by fire. White Rock and Blaine fire brigades battled to save the hall, but their efforts were hampered by a receding tide, making it difficult to obtain water. The following summer, a small replacement was built, added to bit by bit, but never attained the character of its predecessor. After several years of considering to relocate uptown, Branch No. 8 finally made the move in 1949, where it still stands today. With the departure of the Legion, the Yacht Club moved in. Soon after, in 1953, the addition of the aforementioned breakwater on the western side of the pier was completed, which eased the constant battering and damage caused by storms, and provided shelter for the mooring of sailboats. The eastern section of the breakwater was completed in 1959, and finally, the middle section connecting the two arms as we know it today, completed in 1961. The White Rock Sea Festival started in 1952, and the pier was the natural focal point for this immediately successful summertime celebration. Huge crowds packed the pier and wharfs to watch powerboat races, sail regattas, and world-class water ski demonstrations. In 1958, the Dolphin Restaurant moved into the Yacht Club building. It was incredibly popular, and like the old Legion Hall, served the community in a very broad way. It was a meeting place for all manner of groups, from White Rock City Council to teenage dances. Unfortunately, just like its predecessor, this building burned down in November 1970. Despite this being White Rock's golden age, the pier continued to see a lot of wear and tear over the decades, partly due to teenagers drag racing. Until the mid-1950s, cars were actually allowed on the pier. In the 1970s, the pier was scheduled to be torn down as the federal government no longer wanted to spend funds required to continue repairs. Thankfully, when word of the plans to tear the pier got out, residents started a Save the Pier campaign and convinced the government to cancel the demolition plans. In 1977, the pier was disassembled and rebuilt with new lumber to its current length of 1,542 feet. With the reconstruction of the pier came a revival of Marine Drive and the promenade. This was the era of the world-renowned Canadian Open Sandcastle competition, held from 1979 to 1987, which drew hundreds of thousands to White Rock's beaches. Over the years, the pier has hosted many events in the community, from concerts at the pier featuring popular Canadian musicians to dancing at the pier. From Picnic on the Pier, an annual event held to raise money for the Peace Arch Hospital Foundation, to the annual Polar Bear Swim held on New Year's Day since 1958, which draws hundreds of participants and spectators. The pier has also been featured in movie scenes, television shows, and music videos. On December 20th, 2018, a massive storm hit White Rock, with winds gusting up to 100 kilometers an hour. A portion of the dock from the marina broke loose, sending a dozen sailboats crashing into the pier. The forces destroyed a large section of the pier, splitting it in half. One person, trapped on the far side, had to be rescued by Canadian Coast Guard, lifting them to safety. To assist in the financing of the repairs, a fundraising committee was formed, calling themselves Friends of the Pier, selling planks online for $1,000, with proceeds going towards rebuilding the entire pier, with the goal of raising $2 million. A small public event was held to thank all those who had pitched in so far, receiving a commemorative certificate and having a plaque attached to their plank. With the support of the province and the community, the city repaired the damage to the pier over the following months. The new section has steel piles and concrete deck with timber planks. However, the remaining two-thirds of the pier will also require reconstruction to meet current seismic safety requirements.
People want to be on their pier. This is our pier, and it's the pier of everybody kind of in the Lower Mainland. Lots of people have come out here. You notice the second or third plank identifies this the longest pier in Canada. It's something special. People come from all over Metro Vancouver to visit here. People bring their friends from offshore, overseas, and so on down here. So the people will be happy to be back out here. It'll bring more people out. The businesses should flourish a little bit more because there's more people here. So this is a great day for White Rock.
On a warm, sunny day in White Rock, the pier and promenade are packed with locals and visitors. When the tide is out, the beach is covered with people staking claim to their own area of paradise. Many enjoying a picnic from one of the many fish and chips restaurants along Marine Drive. My personal favorite being Montgomery's, which has been a staple on White Rock's waterfront for almost a century. As the tide rolls in, the water, which remains shallow, is surprisingly warm as it covers the sand that has been baking in the summer heat. When the winds pick up, you'll find dozens of kite surfers ripping up and down the shoreline, soaring into the air off the small waves that can pick up under certain conditions. Marine Drive turns into an impromptu car show as vehicles slowly cruise up and down the strip, as we call it, showing off their classic, exotic, and luxury vehicles. Numerous visitors flock to the White Rock waterfront to indulge in the inviting warmth of its waters, take a casual stroll along the picturesque promenade, or savor the delectable offerings from its impressive array of restaurants. However, a truly fulfilling visit to this charming town remains incomplete without a leisurely walk along the iconic pier.